Hello everybody, welcome to episode 24 of Pins and Needles, my crafty podcast. My name is Zoe. You can find me on Instagram as Pins and Needles UK, and breaking news, I've changed my name on Ravelry. I used to be BFG, but I've swapped it over to Pins and Needles UK on there as well, just for some consistency. So if you've already made friends with me on there, you don't have to do anything, it's still the same. But if you're going to try and find me from now onwards, Pins and Needles UK on Ravelry as well. We do have a group for the podcast in there, so head on over and join up. And you can also contact me through Ravelry, through direct message on Instagram, and also on my email, which I will pop in just down here. Welcome back to any returning viewers, and a big hello to any new viewers. There's so many lovely podcasts out there. It's really fabulous that you've chosen to spend a little bit of time with me. Today is Saturday, the 15th of April, and we are partway through a long bank holiday weekend in the UK for Easter. So we have Good Friday as a bank holiday, and then we'll have Monday as well. Today is also my eldest son's birthday. Conrad is 13. Happy birthday, Conrad! I know sometimes he watches the first little bit of my podcasts just for solidarity, which is very kind of him. And he's away this weekend with Dave, and Conrad wanted to go to Insomnia Gaming Conference, which is up in Birmingham. So my mum lives near there. Hi, Mum. So Dave and Conrad have gone up there for the weekend, and they're going to eat pizza and go to a game convention. So that's where they are. It's just me and the little two this weekend. Speaking of which, there will be a cameo appearance by my children a little bit later on, so keep an eye out for that. We're also in the middle of the Easter holidays from school, so the kids are around all the time. We've had some nice day trips out, and we went down to my sister-in-law's. Dave has two sisters. One lives quite close by in Newport, and the other one lives all the way down in Henley-on-Thames. So all the siblings and husbands and wives and children, we all went down there for 2 days and had a lovely time. There was barbecues and walks in the woods and walks by the river and picnics, and it was a bit nuts. There was 14 of us all together, so there was a lot of noise, a lot of wine and a lot of meat. And we took Jim the dog, who had a fantastic time as well, so that was really good. I wanted to just show you, I put these up on my Instagram feed the other day, but if you don't follow me on Instagram, you might have missed them. And when I was growing up, my mum would bring out the Easter decorations. And a few years ago, she passed them on to me. And I thought you might enjoy having a little look at them. I need to go for a walk in the woods and find some nice sort of twiggy branches, and then I can put them in a vase on my mantelpiece and hang these off. But I think these are, goodness, they must be 60s or 70s, so practically vintage. And look, there's a little bird. There is a little Easter basket with sort of flowers inside. It's the colours that make me think they might be 1970s. And there's a rabbit playing a banjo. Nothing says Easter like a banjo. I think this one is my absolute favourite. Look. Am I showing that carefully enough? Let me turn him round so you can see. But it's a little birdie singing on a flower. And there are also some beautifully painted eggs. They're all wooden, nicely turned. And I've got the strings on the top. So yes, I need to go and find some nice twigs. And also in the supermarkets, actually, I bought these myself, but I found some nice felt ones with just a bit of ribbon. So they're felt cutouts. There's a rabbit. And they're all a bit tangled. And a chick. So yes, I'll find myself some nice twigs and hang up my Easter decorations. I also wanted to remind you about the knit along we have going on. This is the hashtag 3amigas knit along, and it's joint with myself, Jennie of Owl About Yarn, and Ellie of Tyddyn Bryn. The details are in the chat thread in my Ravelry group, so head over there if you'd like to join us. Got a few things going along, but we could always welcome some more participants. So if you've got something you want to cast on that will be over 200 metres or yards of yarn, and you fancy winning a prize, head over there and join us. I also wanted to give you a heads up that not this weekend, but next weekend, Jennie and I will be at Wonderwool, which is a Welsh knitting show held in Builth, Wales at the Royal Welsh Showground, and that is the 22nd and 23rd of April. I can't remember Owl About Yarn's stand number. Jennie, if you're watching, put it in the comments for me, but pretty much we're right in the middle, right in the very middle of the central barn. Can't miss us. Gorgeous yarn. Come and say hello. I think I've seen that a few people are coming along, and I will be Jennie's glamorous assistant for the weekend, in charge of hanging things up in high places and making sure that she eats lunch. So it'd be lovely to come and meet you. Come and say hi if you're around. Okay, I'm going to launch myself into pins, my sewing section. Now, I did promise you last week that this episode would be a pyjama party, and it is, because I'm wearing my pyjamas, but I'm not wearing those pyjamas. I'm at the point of possibly just taking this pyjama top outside and lighting it on fire in Dave's fire pit, because I am so cross with it, I can't even tell you. What did I do with the pattern? Right, Butterick B5537, there it is. It's a unisex pattern. It's very simple. I just have made an absolute pig's ear of it. It comes in a small, medium and large, and long story short, I need a small on the top, a medium at the waist and a large at the bottom. So I needed to unpick the sleeves and the side seams and cut the top down to a small, which was all fine. I adjusted my pattern pieces. I use baking parchment and I trace off pattern pieces so you can chop them around very easily. So I adjusted those, I unpicked the top, and then I made a massive glaring mistake. And I basically, if I turn the lovely Demelza around, come on love, can you see? Oh, a bit more. Look, see this bit here? Basically, I was cutting down the sides of the sleeve and I didn't stop cutting. I don't even know what happened. So you can see I've attempted to pin this extra strip back on, but there's a massive hole and I don't think the sleeve is going to fit anymore. And I'm kind of done. I think I might be done. I have said before that I don't let myself get defeated by knitting or sewing projects, because there's always something you can do to save it. But this, part of me does want to save it because I'm desperate for new pyjamas. And also, this is my grandma's old bedsheet, and I do like the pattern. And my grandma isn't with us anymore, so it's a bit of a nice memory as well. I don't know. I was just cross with it. I need to wait until I've got a bit of time. I was rushing when I was doing it, so I made a pig's ear of it. I don't know if I can save it. But I am wearing something else from that pattern. This has pyjamas as well as a dressing gown. So this is the dressing gown that I made from the pattern. It's the very first thing that I ever sewed all by myself without my mum sat next to me. She did help me cut the fabric out because at the time my hips were very bad and I couldn't be crawling around the floor. So it's made in a purple sheep print polar fleece, which I bought from Butterfly Fabrics in Cardiff. And I added a lot of length to the pattern because I'm 6'1" and I wanted it to come all the way down to my ankles. So I added a lot of length, like 6 inches everywhere. It is way too big. I didn't realise at the time that big 4 patterns can be enormous. but I don't think it matters in a dressing gown. I absolutely love the shawl collar. It's one of my favourite kinds of collar. Other modifications, I made the sleeves a lot narrower and a little bit shorter, because otherwise I dangle them in the sink when I do the washing up. So yes, I took a good 4 inches out of the sleeve depth, and maybe I just didn't add any length to the sleeve, and that made them hit in the right place. So yeah, they come above my wrist bone, which is just perfect. The only other modification I made is it has you do top stitching around the edge of the shawl collar, but it didn't say to attach the facing. There's a facing on the inside. I don't know if you can see. There's the line of the facing down there. And I found that when I'd finished it and tried it on, the facing kept flapping over. So again, I just whizzed all the way down the top. I basically top stitched the facing, and it just keeps it in place and a bit tidier. So I am wearing hand-sewn nightwear, evening wear. I made the dressing gown, so it totally counts. I kept my promise. So I will need to have a think about if I want to try and salvage this pair of pyjamas. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. We'll have to wait and see. What I want to do is join in another Instagram sew-along. I really enjoyed the Monetta party. It gave me a bit of a deadline to stick to. I found loads of new sewing people to follow. And there's another one going that I'm very tempted by. And this is #SewTogetherForSummer. And this is a Shirtdress sew-along. And it's organised by @Rocco.Sienna, @SewSarahSmith, and @Sewing in Spain. I'll put all the details down here. And basically you can sew any shirt dress you like by the 21st of June. Now the McCall's 6696 is a pretty go-to pattern for a shirt dress. So lots of people have been making that, and there are some tips and tricks on the blogs of some of those Instagram ladies for things like doing the collar stand and things like that. There's also Tilly and the Buttons Rosa shirt dresses coming off everyone's machines. There's the Sew Over It Vintage shirt dress and the Alex shirt dress, and they all just look so lovely, and I do like a shirt dress. I think the reason I like dresses is because you've only got to pick one thing to put on in the morning and it's done. And the faster I can get up, dressed and out, the happier I am. So I am considering forgetting about this and starting something else. So we'll see. Keep an eye on my Instagram feed. Maybe I'll just give it a miss. It's a shame, but really, I've made such a pixie of it. There's no coming back from that. That's it for the pins, I'm afraid. Almost negative progress, but hopefully I can get my Sojo back with a fresh start pattern. On to needles, my knitting bit. As I mentioned earlier, I do have 2 guest appearances from my children, which I will insert here. I hope you enjoy it. Here is Jocelyn, my daughter.
Hi!
And
Welcome back to Baby Needles.
And she's got a finished object that she wants to show you. So, over to Joss.
So I made this hat. It's for my teacher, Mr. Broad, who's going to have a baby girl in April. And this is a newborn hat. And I used this yarn.
That's Sirdar Ella DK yarn, which is a cotton and acrylic mix.
Yeah. And I used 2.5 millimeter.
3.25.
Yeah, 3.25 millimeter needles for this hat.
And when you put it on the baby,
It has this weird little...
it's going to look like it has ears. Now, how did you knit this hat? Did you knit it in the round, or did you knit it flat?
I didn't knit it in the round, I just knitted it flat, and it has this weird pattern on it, because I accidentally knitted it wrong, so it has this funky little line, if you can see.
And do you remember when you did that? I said, When you do something wrong, you don't say it's a mistake. You call it.
It's your own pattern. So.
It's a design feature, isn't it?
And I did ribbing at the bottom, as you can see.
Yeah. I think that was your first ever ribbing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty scary because I haven't done it before, and I was scared it turned out bad, but it actually looks quite nice.
It does look nice, doesn't it? I think he's going to really like that.
Yeah.
And what did we do with the box with the pattern on it? Oh, yes.
Okay, so for my birthday, my grandma got me this, knitting cards on the go.
Yeah. You just need to kind of... There we go.
So, and then you can get little ones, so that's one, that's the other.
And it's a box, and it's full of cards.
Yeah. I am knitting something at the moment. Right, yeah. I made one of these in my knitting bag. Oh. Yes. It's my first one. It looks a bit silly.
It does look
I
sad.
haven't done the stitching properly, and I didn't know how to do the eyes to make it look like that.
We haven't done the ears yet, have we?
Yeah, they're not identical, but it's fine.
It's a pretty good first go, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is... what is it called? Knitting Cards on the Go, and it's by DK. I'll put the details down below.
In the comments section.
In the comments box.
Yeah.
But yeah, so little lamb and a baby hat.
For Mr. Broad.
And I think you did really well.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, Jocelyn. Up next
is Max. Hello. Hey.
So this is Max. He's my youngest child. How old are you, Max?
I'm 9, Lily 10, 23 days.
Yeah, 10 in a few days. And I knitted you this hat, didn't I?
Yes, I loved it. I kept on going to sleep with it.
Yeah, you wore it to bed and you wore it every day, even when it was boiling hot.
It was very itchy, but finally Mum washed it, so it's not that itchy now.
And this is a pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. It's called the Angel Hat, and Max is a little angel. Look at that face. And I knitted it in Rowan Pure Wool Aran. I can't remember the colourway names, I'm afraid. I don't think I even have the details marked in my stash. And show them the pom-pom on the top, look.
Yay,
Ooh.
I'll get that now.
That was Jim the dog. And I used the pom-pom maker that Jennie gave me for Secret Santa, I think it was. So there we go. I'm sorry about the rather abrupt end to the section with the kids in. Somebody knocked at the front door. Jim the dog went crazy. It was a mess. But there you are. They were desperate to come on and show you the things that they wanted to show you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Bit of a note on Max's hat. As I said, it's the Angel Hat pattern by Kay Jones. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I did make a few modifications. It's supposed to be ever so slightly slouchy, but Max wanted a beanie. So I did 2 inches of ribbing, and I knit to 6 inches from the cast on edge, and then I started the decreases. And at the time, I couldn't find my 5mm double pointed needles. I think I'd lost them. I might just need to get a new set when I'm at Wonderwool. I found some 4.5s though, so I did the decreases on 4.5, so the whole hat is a little bit shorter, which fits a 10-year-old head absolutely fine. And when I eventually managed to get it off his head to block it, that did help it all open out, and it's still a snug fit though. Max does have almost an adult size head, so if you were interested in knitting the pattern, although it's only a 1 size pattern, it's super stretchy. And again, just altering your needle size will probably be more than enough. So that's the details on that one. I also wanted to show you the project that I have been knitting for the 3 Amigas knit along. I think I can't remember if I showed you if I'd started knitting it last episode or not. Anyway, the pattern is Vitamin D by Heidi Kerrmaier, and it's an open-fronted, swingy cardigan in DK weight. And this is what I've spent most of the last 2 weeks knitting on. I'm so enjoying the pattern. I really want the finished object. It's a perfect spring weight cardigan, and it's because of the colour I've chosen, it's going to go with everything in my wardrobe. It's a little bit tricky to show you because of how you knit it. It's knitted from the top down in one piece, and hang on a second. Here we go. I've got different bits of it on the go and different bits of it on hold, so it's all a bit of a nest of wires and leftover yarn. Okay, so you're looking at the front. So this is the front section, which will be like a trapeze shape, and this is the sleeve, and as you can see, I've got that on my knitting needles. I'm ready to knit that next. I've done the first sleeve. There we are, look, all the way down. It's a bracelet length sleeve, and it says in the pattern you can knit this in the round or you can knit it flat, and as I've been knitting the whole cardigan back and forth flat, I decided to stick with flat knitting for the sleeve. I don't mind seaming, that's not a problem, just do a bit of mattress stitch at the end, and it does mean that if your gauge varies between knitting flat and knitting in the round, you can stick with what you're already doing. So I've done that, and there's a little garter edge to it, and if I turn it round, there's the back. So it's got this pattern of eyelets, and the eyelets are how you increase to get the extra swingy shape, basically. So yes, I've knitted all of the yoke. I've knitted one sleeve. I'm about to knit the second sleeve, and then I've just got this dangling. This is the front section, again with the nice eyelet detail, and you leave, when you start to work the sleeves separately, you leave this ball of yarn attached, and I've just hung it off the cable with the stitch holder to stop it untwizzling and getting all tangled up. I probably should have just cut it off and woven in the ends. I don't mind finishing. So that's where I am with that. I'm really enjoying knitting it, and I think it's going to be super handy. The yarn, did I pick up a ball band to show you? Yes. The yarn is Sublime Extra Fine Merino Wool DK in shade 0229, and 50 grams gets you 116 metres or 127 yards. Sublime is actually Sirdar, but they just rebranded their slightly posher yarn. Same. Nice commercial yarn. And as I said, I absolutely love the colour. It's super soft, and I'm really enjoying knitting with it. The pattern is very well written because of all the increases, some of which are lifted increases for the sleeves and some of which are yarn overs for the body and the fronts. Heidi Kerrmaier has put some charts in the pattern that you can follow, and it gives you stitch counts at the end. So it's very well written, very easy to follow, and you can be very confident that you are actually in the right place and have got the right number of stitches, because of course with a cardigan knitted flat in one piece, if you have to rip anything back, it's a lot of ripping back. So yes, big thumbs up for that. I'm very much enjoying that. I've also done a little bit of work on my socks in my Thimble and Thread Make Harry Potter bag. Again, I showed these last time. This is yarn that Ellie gave me, Tyddyn Bryn. It's a one-of-a-kind dyed lilac-y sock yarn. And as I mentioned before, I had knitted a different sock pattern with this and ripped it out because it was too small. But look, you know when you rip something out and wind the yarn back up, you're really excited when you get to the point where you're on fresh yarn again. I've got these few strands to knit and then it's back into fresh yarn. Very exciting. So when I showed you last episode, I was halfway through the heel flap, I think. Oh, hang on a second. Halfway through the heel flap, and now, there we are. I'm very nearly at the toe. I've got 3/4 of an inch, and then I can start the toe. So it's a paid for pattern. Beautifully written. It's a 2x2 rib and a twisted stitch texture. I'm knitting this on 2.75mm needles. These are my carbons. And I have to say, I'm getting a little bit fed up with them. They're carbon fibre shafts with a metal tip. There we are. And I'm starting to feel the tip. I'm starting to feel the rub. And it's just getting a bit on my nerves. But I like metal needles. But I bend them. When I knit quite tightly, and at this smaller circumference, I do tend to bend them. Thank you very much to everybody that left me comments, suggestions and links about avoiding ladders in my DPN knitting. As you can see, I have tried. I normally have my socks on 3 double pointed and knit with the 4th, but I've tried having it on 4 and knitting with the 5th. And I have to say, it's not making any difference. It's not making any difference at all. If I pull it apart, it's not going to show. Can you see the ladder where my thumb is? And it's still a ladder just like it was further down when I only had 3. So that hasn't worked. Lots of people suggested the Sockmatician's tutorial on it, which I can't find. I follow him on YouTube and I've looked through and I've seen lots of tutorials on other things, but nothing that's called DPNs and ladders or anything like that. I need to have another look, but I will try that and give it another go. Anyway, at this point, the only ladders that you can see are on the sole of my foot. It really doesn't matter, but I am enjoying knitting with double pointed needles. So that is my sock on the go. As I said, I haven't done a huge amount. We were away for 2 days at my sister-in-law's, and with dogs, children and an open fire, there wasn't much relaxing knitting time, but I'm cracking on with that. The other thing I wanted to show you, I can't really show you, which was a bit of a tease, for which I apologise. Hiding in my Owl About Yarn superhero project bag is my first design project, which I'm rather excited about. I've put some pictures up on Instagram and things like that, and I don't want to talk about it too much, partly because I don't want to jinx it, and I'm going to be doing some separate vlogs on my design process. I've had 4 design ideas for accessories inspired by Barry Island, which is where I live in South Wales. And I showed you, if you watch my Edinburgh Yarn Festival episode, I show you lots of yarn that I bought there that I'm going to be using for the designs that I have in mind. So it's not a complete secret, but the actual items and the details of those I want to keep under wraps, partly in case I change my mind, but just so I can make a bit of a wow when I do get around to releasing them. But I could show you the back of my swatch. So these are not the yarns I will be using. This was just me digging around in my stash for some scraps to have a go with. So that is the back of my first design. What a spaghetti mess. One of the designs is knit in the round. So when I was doing a practice, rather than casting on the full number of stitches and actually knitting it in the round, I knit the sample, the test sample, flat in the round. I don't know if you've ever done that. You cast on 1 double pointed needle, or maybe 1 circular, and when you get to the end of a row, rather than turning, what you do is you scooch it back along to the other end of the needle, a bit like brioche, and you just loop the yarn around the back. So that's why I've got so many big loops of yarn like that. The first and last stitches of your sample can get quite loose, but you can just tug on the loops at the back and it tightens it up. And if you just want a quick blast to have a look at what the design will look like, or get a rough idea of your stitches and rows per inch, then that's a great way to have a go. So that's what I'm knitting. I can hear Jim the dog scratching at the door. I don't know if he's going to leave me alone. Go away, Jim. Go to bed. never work with children and animals. It's completely true. So I asked Jennie to dye me up some yarn because I knew exactly what I wanted. So she has dyed up, specially for me, this is couture, custom dyed yarn. She's dyed me up two skeins of this, which is her Cuddly Owl sock, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and this is called Overcast, and it is the perfect pale silvery grey tonal yarn that I wanted, and that's going to be my main colour. And the next ones are going to be a bit difficult to show you. Jennie does packs of mini skeins, so 7 10-gram mini skeins, and she does a rainbow gradient. And again, there's pictures of this on Instagram. And I didn't need all of the colours, so I haven't wound up all of them. So these are the 4 I'm going to be using in my design. Oh, I dropped them. And these are the other 3. So aren't they absolutely gorgeous? They're tonal, they're not variegated, they're tonal, and they do have a little bit of sparkle in them. And you only need, I mean, these are 10-gram mini skeins, and you need a fraction of that for the design. So hopefully when this pattern comes out, and hopefully if anybody fancies knitting it, you can use up scraps. If you don't have to buy special yarn. But if you do want to buy special yarn, you should totally buy Jennie's yarn. So that is what I'm using for my first design. I have made a start on knitting it, and I'm sort of writing out the pattern as I go. And it's tricky. I don't know if any of you watching are knitting designers. I'm sure some of you are. But it's surprising how much you take for granted and how difficult it is to explain something that you do automatically. I was helping someone to learn to knit the other day, and they knit continental style, and it completely threw me. She was saying, "How do you do this?" And my answer was, "Well, I don't know, you just do." It's exactly the same. Exactly the same with this design process. Having to explain things that I don't normally think about and write it down clearly is harder than I was expecting. So kudos to any of you out there that are knitting designers. Hopefully I will be one soon as well. So yes, that's the other work in progress that I have. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, but I do need brain power. I have to sit down with my notebook, my knitting, and I'm also using The Principles of Knitting by June Hemmans Hyatt just to help me along with some of the explanations of what I'm actually doing. So that's quite the fun. I have one acquisition to show you, and it's a pattern that I bought. There's one design that I'm toying with including in my first pattern collection. And, well, I can tell you, it's a shawl design. And not so long ago, there was a pattern released, and it's not really a pattern. It's a booklet, basically, and it's by Rowan Knits of Knitwear Designs, and it's called Forming Shawls and Their Charts by Françoise Danoy. Put links down below. And this is it. That's what it looks like. And can you see all the different kinds of shawls? Now this is a 67-page book. It's a paid-for pattern, and it is not cheap. It costs, I checked yesterday, it costs $24, which is £19.82. But it is an absolute treasure trove of information. And basically, I'm just trying to... It's a reference book of shawl charts and maths shortcuts for other knitters to enjoy. I'm reading it. And also to give them the confidence to start designing their own shawls. So basically, she goes through different shawl shapes, including triangular, crescent, winged triangular, semicircular, three-quarter square, asymmetrical, bias rectangular, half pie, side-to-side triangle, square, circular, and hexagon, and all sorts. So basically, she gives you, so there's an example. I can show you the picture, that's not much of a giveaway. So here's her triangular, and you can knit a mini one just to practice the maths. And she basically teaches you where and how to put increases and how to work stitch patterns into the design. So she doesn't give you shawl designs in here. She gives you the structure and she gives you the basic maths, and you haven't got to do sums, it's done for you. So that if you have a shawl design in mind, you can go to the correct bit of this, plug in your stitch pattern and knit it up, which is absolute genius. So I haven't had time to read the whole thing. I've literally just had a quick flick through. But it looks like it's going to be a real must-have. So if you're tempted in knitting your own shawl designs, or if you just enjoy the structure and the maths behind them, do consider giving this a go. I think it's going to be worth its weight in gold. And it's lovely, lovely layout, really clearly written. And some little pictures of some spreadsheets she's done as well. So yes, that's my acquisition, and I look forward very much to getting some good use out of that. Last up, this isn't really its own separate section. It's not something I was planning on including, but I have started using a bullet journal. Again, there's some pictures on my Instagram feed. And I talked back in January about how 2017 has got to be a year of change for my business and how I run my life and all the rest of it. And I'm a pretty organised person, but I have been finding that it's still not getting me where I need to be. I'm busy in the wrong places and I'm not working on the right things, and I was starting to get a bit anxious and overwhelmed and all the rest of it. So I thought, right, the definition of insanity is carrying on doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So I decided I had to do something different. And at the same time, Jennie started some craft-related business courses and retreats and Facebook groups. And when she was telling me about what she'd been up to and the tools they were giving her, it just sounded so fantastic, and the people involved sounded so lovely. I thought maybe I should give it a go. So there are two people that I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos from and following on Facebook, and those two people are Jolie of Jolie Creates, and you can find her as Jolie Creates on YouTube and Instagram, and also Tara Swiger, and she's Tara Swiger on Instagram and YouTube. Now I met Jolie, I don't know if she's watching, hi Jolie. I met Jolie at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and she's just such a lovely, kind, reassuring person. After half an hour's chat with Jolie, you really feel you could climb Mount Everest if you fancied it. And she specialises in supporting and enabling crafty-based people to run their businesses effectively and to grow them. And Tara Swiger has the same goals in mind, supporting and enabling crafty people to run businesses. They have slightly different emphasis, and if you go to their websites, which I will link to down below as well, they both of them run online courses, and they both have Facebook groups, and they have email newsletters and all sorts of things. And I've been watching my way through their YouTube videos, and it just felt like they had a structure and a way of thinking, excuse me, that I felt I could apply to the very start of being a knitting designer, and also that I could apply to my gym business that I run with my husband, which might strike you as odd because crafting and running a gym are very different businesses, but there's actually something very enlightening about studying a completely different business that gives you an insight into your own, simply because it's so different. And as I've said, things have got to change. And some of the things that Jolie in particular was talking about, sort of a little bit of headology or psychology, and things like gratitude and mindfulness. Oh, it's not really me. I'm a bit British. I'm not sure about all of this, you know. But then I thought, you know what? She's the one running a successful business. You're the one that needs a bit of help. How about you just shut up and do it? So I decided to start using a bullet journal. Both Tara Swiger and Jolie have YouTube videos on theirs. Excuse me. So I decided to take the plunge. I've only been using it for a week. I put some pictures of it up on Instagram, and a couple of people did say that they were interested in finding out a bit more. So I'll talk you through what I've done so far. If you are interested in hearing about how I get on with it, let me know in the comments. If you're not interested, I won't bother you with it again, because it's not, strictly speaking, knitting and sewing. Did you hear the thumping then? That's Max racing into my bedroom, which is in the room above. It's not a herd of elephants, it's my son. Anyway, so this is the book I started with. It is I don't know how you say this, a Leuchter 1917. And I got the dotted version. The pages are numbered and the pages are dotted. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. And I think it's emerald. The colour's emerald. I have some little post-it notes at the front. As I said, I've only started using this a week ago. So I haven't finished setting it all up. And these are some ideas of pages I want to create. It comes with a contents page at the front. Oh, and it has 2 ribbon dividers. So that's quite handy for referencing as well. I set myself up with a key. There are various symbols. I mean, you can pick your own, but there are some that are quite standard. And this is my key page. There we are. And I'm using this bullet journal for personal things, for gym things, and for pins and needles things. So I've got different colours. The gym is red, pins and needles is purple, and personal is green. A lot of people with their bullet journals get terribly artistic and use a lot of stuff. And I don't think that appeals to me. I don't have a lot of time, so gussying up my bullet journal is not something I'll be doing a great deal of. I don't mind colour coding it. I did draw a key just for funsies, but I don't think I'll bother with it terribly much. I've got some blank pages where I need to put some goals for the year and the quarter. Speaking of which, a YouTube video on setting quarterly goals and why it's a good idea. You should watch that one. Even if you don't want to use a bullet journal, it's just a little bit genius. So, this is my April monthly tracker and my weekly tracker. Now you can see I've kept with the different colours for things, and I've got the date along the top, and I've got my tasks down the side, again different colours for different areas. And some things where I've drawn a box, that's where I've assigned a particular task to a particular day. So for example, with my work tasks, rota and payroll tends to be done towards the end of the month. Same with gathering up papers for accountants. And I've just assigned some things a day. And when I draw a blob in it, I know that I've done it. There were a couple of things I didn't think to include on here, so I'll change it slightly for the following month. But overall, it's been working well. So you can see I didn't actually start using it until the 10th. So this is the first week that I've started using it seriously. I've got a couple of things to do today. What have I got to do today? I've got to clean the fridge. I've got to podcast. I have got to change the sheets and towels. I hate changing the beds. Oh my God. Hate changing the beds. So those are my weekly and monthly tasks. I'm a big fan of the think once and then just do it. I do a weekly meal plan and one weekly grocery shop. And I like the idea of thinking once and ticking it off as I go. I'm a busy person. Lots of things change on very short notice in my life. So yeah, think once, get it done. And then this is my first, what they call a weekly spread. And there it is, look. Oh, now you all know how much I weigh. So I've got a box for every day of the week. And I've got my sprint goals over here. And that's a goal that you're really going for over a 1 or 2 week period. And then over here, I've got my daily tasks. I put crosses when we were away. I've got a little month calendar here. And I've got a motivational quote. What have I got down there? Your life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. Jim Rohn. And that's absolutely true. It really does. So I love lists and I like ticking stuff off. So I find this quite motivating. So things that I have to do every day: checking emails, opening the post, laundry. I've got to go to bed with a clean kitchen, walk the dog, do my food diary, 5-minute tidy, and post on Instagram. Now, those aren't all things to be done by me. You know, I've got a husband and children who help out, and they do their share around the house and they do their share of walking the dog. But that they do all need to get done every day. And there's a couple of things in there, checking the emails and opening the post, that I don't like doing. And it's because I'm worried about the contents. Nobody likes opening the post in case it contains bad news. So what I was doing was leaving my post for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then the accountants would say, it's time to send me your invoices for the VAT returns, sales tax returns that you do every quarter. And then I'd have to open a pile of posts like this, and I would feel sick. I would genuinely feel sick at the thought of what was in there. And obviously, if you don't open your post for 3 months, then things that would have just been a task to get done when you open it become a massive panic because you've left it for 3 months. So it just was this never-ending cycle of fear and disaster. So I put open the post and check your emails on my daily list. And the rules are, I've got to do it every day, but if I just open one letter and deal with it, that counts. If I don't have the time, or I don't have the courage to open more than one piece of post or check one email, that's okay. One bit's fine. And apart from the 2 days when we were away at my sister's-in-law, I've opened the post every day so far this week. So I get a pat on the back for that. And then, yeah, so I've got my dailies down the bottom. I tick them off as I go. And then I've got, in the days of the week, I put any particular tasks that I need to do. So I obviously had to pack for going away. I had to make some payments before I left. I had to raise some invoices, things like that. I've got, yesterday on my to-dos, I put write your show notes for the podcast today. So I think this is going to work really well. I get a sense of accomplishment from ticking things off. I can schedule in important tasks that must be done regularly, and I am getting those done. And I'm finding that having time at the start of the week to do my new weekly layout, and having time early in the morning to think about my daily tasks and to write them down, is good. It's peaceful and it feels like you're in control, and everybody loves ticking stuff off. And you know, if I write a task down for that day and I don't manage it, that's fine. You just shift it to the next day, but it's not forgotten, and it gets everything done. So that's my bullet journal. Oh, and I wanted to say thank you to my friend who sent me the washi tape with alpacas on it. Love it. She'll be coming to Wonderwool. I need to hug her. So pages that I haven't yet written up, but I need to, I'm going to do a gratitude log and an affirmation page. And again, Jolie had a fantastic point of view on this, and it's not hippie woo, it's focusing on what you need to focus on. And once you make a point of doing that, you will notice more opportunities. So, yeah, Anyway, watch Jolie's video. She can explain it far better than I can, but I want to draw up one of those. I need to fill in my quarterly goals, and I need to do some more template tick lists. So like some of my monthly goals are do your finances. And obviously there's limited space to write all of those details down. So I need to have a page that itemises out what my monthly finances comprises of. So again, think once. That's my plan. So yes, that is my bullet journal. I haven't used anything special. I bought some fine liners and a friction pen. Have you come across these friction pens? Basically, it's ink pens that you can rub out, or you can iron them out with heat, so you can use them for marking fabric. They don't last forever, so if you wanted to keep something for years and years, maybe don't use this. But for me, for the first week and month of my bullet journal, it was fabulous. I can just, if I made mistakes, I could rub it out. So that's my bullet journal. I think it's helping. I found a couple of people to follow on Instagram just for a bit of inspiration for it as well. And as I said, if you're interested in hearing how I get on, let me know. It certainly wouldn't be every episode. But there you go. That's everything I have for you this episode. Please give me a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you enjoyed the podcast. Do join in the hashtag 3Amigas knit along. And if you're coming to Wonderwool next weekend, come and say hello to Jennie and I on the Owl About Yarn stand. And I will be back in 2 weeks' time. Bye!